Welcome to the My Tennis Coaching Podcast, your go-to resource for all things tennis coaching. Your host is Steve Whelan. Here, we dive deep into ecological dynamics and constraint-led coaching practices. Whether you're a seasoned coach or just starting out, this podcast is designed to build your confidence, expand your knowledge, and refine your techniques. Join me as we challenge traditional methods, explore player-centered approaches, and transform your coaching experience. Let's take your coaching game to the next level together. Stay tuned for insightful discussions and practical tips that will make a real difference on and off the court.
Why are shadow swings so ineffective? That was a great debate I got into quite a few times this week on YouTube. Welcome, as always, to the My Tennis Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Whelan, and as always, we are streaming on Spotify and on YouTube as well. Slight change of day. I'm going to try releasing the podcast on a Monday. Normally, my podcast is always released on a Friday. However, I'm going to try it out on the Monday and see if that has any difference in terms of numbers and viewerships and engagement and stuff like that. So please let me know in the comments below what day generally you consume all your podcasts on. Therefore, I can make it and tailor it towards you. But yes, last week I got into a really lengthy debate on shadow swings. And if you haven't seen the video, I'll leave it in the show notes and you can go across and check it out on YouTube. But I highlighted a Instagram post from a coach from America, and they were saying if your coach is not doing this, they are not doing their job properly. And there's basically one coach with about 15 players on a court, and he was shadow swinging, lots of explicit instructions in terms of if you put your left foot here and your right foot there, turn your racket here, you get the picture. First and foremost, to put on it, if your coach is not doing this, they don't know what they're doing, basically. And the funny thing was, like, shadow swings are not that effective. And I got into lots of debates this week with coaches from around the world who were basically telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know why shadow swings were so effective, and I was a bit of an idiot. And I get that because it's social media. And when you ever challenge the status quo, whenever you challenge thinking, whenever you challenge coaching practices that people are doing and they believe they're successful with them, then I get that. There's always going to be some debate. And a couple of coaches like, oh, this is clickbait. Like, just thinking I'm going to say something just to get engagement. First and foremost, like, it's not clickbait. If I was going to clickbait someone, I could do it in a much more effective way. My viewership will be a lot higher. A lot of my videos is authentic. It's basically my opinion, what I feel. Sometimes there may be a little bit of a hook, or there might be a interesting thumbnail. But again, that's just the way the world works. But I would never ever put clickbait out there, because it's interesting because you always get the clickbait accusation when someone completely disagrees with you. And that's fine as well. Like, I don't make videos for people to agree with me. I make videos to challenge the way people think and hopefully get them to rethink how they coach. And even if one coach turns around and goes, you know what, I do lots of shadow swings, are they as effective as I think they are? Then that's the reason for these videos. I could just do what every other tennis coach in the world does. I could just film technical tips and pretend to show you things that will work, like shadow swings, and get lots of engagement and get lots of viewerships. But that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about trying to bring some scientific and evidence-based research to your tennis court and your tennis lessons. So I want to address that first and foremost. Like, they're not clickbait. Like, I generally 100% believe shadow swings are useless. They don't have any place within the game. And here's the reason why. And I'm going to share with you my opinions, but it's also based in science and evidence as well. So let's talk about why tennis coaches shadow swing. The belief is if a player repeats the same action over and over again, they learn it, and it's stored in muscle memory, and it's just repetition. The more you do something, the better you get. It's quite an old age myth. Okay, if you just repeat something over and over again, you get better. In some contexts, yes. And a lot of the things people throw at me, like dance or dance, Like if you like dancers will go through rehearsals, an actor or actress will rehearse their lines over and over again, and they're quite isolated and sterile environments. Like if you think about an actor, they will rehearse a play or a movie over and over again because they know what comes before and they know what comes after. So all they have to do is deliver their lines or their acting ability in a set way based on information they know what happens before and after. A dancer, exact same thing. They have to repeat the same movement in a sequence that's already defined, and they know what move comes before and what move comes after. So those type of environments, repetition with repetition, is really impactful because it's structured. There's a flow. There's a recipe. It's a very linear process. So in certain contexts, things like that, repetition with repetition, works. It doesn't work in tennis because we don't know what happens before. We don't know what's going to happen after. Every tennis ball we receive is different. So there's no linear process in terms of how we hit the shot. Every single shot's going to be different. So when a coach is showing you a shadow swing, like the coach was in the clip, put your left foot here, your right foot there, the coach has no idea where the ball's going. Why? Because there's no ball in the practice. There's no ball in the training. The ball's been taken out of context. The player themselves are in various different positions. So you had players playing at the baseline, players in the midcourt, players playing out wide, players playing in the centre. That has an impact on how you're going to move as well. So the footwork pattern from the middle of the court will be different if you're out wider. The footwork movement, if you're behind the baseline, will be different if you're inside the court. We need information such as the ball, such as your court position, but also other information, your opponent's position, your opponent's body language. We need lots of information in order to know how and when to move. If you take that information away, we have nothing. We have no clue if that cross step is right or the shuffle step is right. And again, this whole idea of let's teach you the basics of movement without context, and then you'll be able to transfer it and replicate it when we introduce the ball. I've had quite a few conversations on shadow swings recently with coaches on Instagram and YouTube. That's the mentality. Well, I'll show you how to do it without the ball. We'll break it down to the very fundamental level, and then we'll add in elements and make it more chaotic later on. So the evidence and the science shows that does not transfer. Once you introduce a ball, that movement changes. Because guess what? Your body will use the ball to try and work out the most efficient and effective way to move. It does not pull from the brain information of how to move. It reacts to the environment in front of it. If we haven't got the information, we don't know how to move. It's just guesswork. And more often than not, it's complete wrong guesswork as well. So the coach in the clip was teaching stuff with no context. So we have no idea if the left foot should go there or the right foot should go there because there's no ball. We don't know if the racket can go back to the position he gets it in because, again, there's no information to know if it's right or not. And for me, it's such poor tennis coaching because they're not playing tennis. We need information. The absolute minimum amount of information should be the ball coming to the player. And even that's not great because we need to take in more information to know how to move. And I get it. I get why tennis coaches fear stuff like that. Because if you're doing that at your club and you've got 15 or 20 people coming to that session like the coach did, and then you've got someone online going, that's rubbish, that doesn't actually work, it's going to get defensive and they're going to go, yeah, it works. And the amount of times, muscle memory, okay, muscles don't have memory. And the way the body moves, it doesn't pull information from the brain of how to move. Your body, I'm trying not to go too deep in the science here, but your body just reacts to the environment around you. It just adapts. It just sees opportunities to move, called affordances. Like at the minute, there's a coffee cup in front of me. That gives me an opportunity to pick it up. But I don't think about how I pick my coffee cup up. because my body knows the intention of what I want to do. It sees the opportunity to move, and it just acts. And I will do a video on affordances in the future, because I think it's really important to understand. So I'm not looking at the coffee cup now. I'm thinking, well, I've got to get my finger through the handle. I'm going to put my thumb on top. I'm going to put my other fingers underneath. I'm going to lift it up. I'm going to bring it to my lips. It doesn't work that way, because it doesn't need to work that way. Even though the body is quite a complex system, it understands, one, the intention of what I want to do. I want to pick the coffee cup up. And then also, it knows roughly what I need to do to support it. I don't have to overthink it. And it's the same with tennis. Like, when the tennis ball's coming in towards me, I know I've got to hit it. I know I've got to hit it over the net. Therefore, my body will find ways of achieving that on its own, almost. I can't do it without the information. I can't think about picking that coffee cup up if there's no coffee cup there, because I don't know how to interact with it. It's the same. If you try and play tennis without the ball, you've got no information. You could pretend and use your mind's eye of how it's going to look. But once that ball is in play, once that coffee cup's in play, the movement will be different. And I do think shadow swings are useless in that regards. There may be some benefit of shadow swings with things like visualization. So before a match, I would normally sit down 10 or 15 minutes and play the match out in my head. And I'll try and visualize what I'm good at, what I'd like to try and make happen. So there's elements of that, and that was more about being mindfulness and trying to relax and trying to be positive. But the coaches who train shadow swings, they're training it for skill development, skill acquisition. They develop it to improve technique. It doesn't work. There's no benefit to it. And again, a common one that was brought up quite a few times, yeah, but boxers shadow swing or shadow box. Great. That won't transfer either, because there's no opponent trying to punch you in the face. And this got brought up quite recently with the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. People saying, oh, have you seen Tyson in training? He was really good. Like, he was really aggressive, hitting the bags and stuff. Didn't see that in a fight. No, you won't. Why? Because there's someone trying to punch him in the face. In training, no one's trying to punch him in the face. And when you get punched in the face, the old age comment is, well, all the plans go out the window. And this is a very experienced former world champion, one of the baddest mans on the planet. But he's 58. And getting punched in the face at 58 is different than punching a bag at 58. So the shadow boxing thing doesn't hold up either, because it's different. And boxing training is a bit different to tennis training as well, because you can't just fight every single day as a boxer. So you've got to understand that boxers will hit a heavy bag. They will do pad work. Those things might not have a high level of transition or transfer of learning, but they're doing it for different reasons. They're not doing it to develop their punching. They're not doing it to develop their combinations, because, again, have you ever tried to punch someone 2 or 3 times in a row? They're going to try and move out the way. They're not going to stay there. So, again, just these myths like the dancing and the acting and learning a language or boxing in this case, those skills don't transfer. And I just find it really fascinating where coaches, again, will not look at the science or evidence. And then if you go to the video and look at underneath, like, I've put lots of references on there. Like, I've put down the science and the references. Like, just go and look at it yourself. Just go away and look at it. If you're a professional tennis coach and you're taking money from people, you might want to think about how you coach, and does it actually work? Or are you just believing myths? Because as a coach, movement, how we learn to move and how we move, are the 2 most important things for me as a coach. And all those coaches in the comments, they have no understanding of how the human body moves and how it learns movement. And they're tennis coaches, which is a dynamic game, which movement is the most important part. Therefore, they don't know what they're doing, and they'll resort back to things like the shadow swings. Oh yeah, shadow swings work, yeah. And quite a lot of them going, yeah, but I did shadow swings and I'm top 100 in the world, one guy said. Never heard of him. But okay, I got to top 100 in the world ATP. I did shadow swings. Great, but I guarantee you played a lot of tennis as well. You played a lot of open situations. The shadow swings didn't get you to top 100 in the world. The impact would have been absolute minimal, if any. The most of the learning would have been done outside of the shadow swings. But because people do it, they think it works. Oh yeah, I've seen Nadal, he's shadow swinging and stuff, but he's not doing it to develop the skill. He's not doing it to develop the technique. He might just do it because it makes him feel good. He might just do it because it is a bit more of a mental warm-up. He's not doing it to improve his technique. And that's the disconnect. Like, if it has some effect for you in terms of concentration or confidence, great, do it. But don't do it to improve movement, because it won't work. And one of the biggest pushbacks tennis coaches give me all the time is time. Haven't got enough time with players. I only see them once a week. Great. So why are you spending 20 minutes shadow swinging with them then? Why are you wasting your time? There's other things you can do that are more beneficial. And yeah, I find it fascinating. Let me know in the comments, do you shadow swing and why? What's your basis on shadow swinging? What evidence do you have? And don't give me, oh, Nadal did it, or I did it and I got to such and such level. Because that's what we call confirmation bias. Just because someone gets to a certain level and they may do certain activities, there's no actual evidence that it works. So drop me some actual evidence and some references and some research, because then I'll listen. Because at the end of the day, we've only got science and evidence to back us up. We all have opinions. And it's interesting the amount of coaches who got online saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, well, it's not yeah, it's my opinion, but it's based on all this evidence and science and research. One that I've done, but also that other people have gone out and done. So it's not like I'm just talking based on my own personal view, like it worked for me. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this podcast. Please like and subscribe if you are on Spotify or YouTube, and leave down in the comments any questions. And yeah, let me know about the Monday podcast release as well. I'm going to try it for the rest of the year up till January, see if a Monday works a little bit better. And as always, thanks for listening. Check out mytenniscoaching.com, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the My Tennis Coaching Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. Your support helps us bring more insightful discussions and valuable tips to enhancing your coaching journey. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at MyTennisCoaching for daily inspiration, coaching advice, and behind-the-scenes content. Stay connected, stay inspired, and keep pushing the boundaries of your coaching skills. Until next time, keep fostering growth, innovation, and excellence on and off the court. See you in the next episode.